So sorry guys for cutting that video in half. The time was running out and the program I'm using wasn't able to export videos of a certain amount of time, so I thought I'd just continue this as a second video. One of the more interesting things Bob said in the interview was when he was asked about XRP as a one world currency. And we've all thought of this, right? We all thought, wouldn't it be amazing if XRP could be the one world currency, and how much value we could derive from that, what the price could be if the entire world was trading XRP, or rather using XRP to facilitate any kind of trades, financial transactions, conversions, buying commodities, derivative products, anything like that. And what Bob said made my ears perk up. He said that idea is not that far-fetched. Considering all the partnerships Ripple has, some of them are with the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, many central banks across the world, and so Ripple again has positioned themselves to be in the spot that if these bodies collectively decided to take a cryptocurrency and make it a one world currency, or rather a world reserve currency, chances are it's not going to be Bitcoin, it is going to be XRP. Based on their track record and also heavily based not only on Ripple's technology, but Ripple's reputation around the globe. Bob says that as countries grow into peers, and so we don't think of countries as peers, but since we're doing more and more global transactions and global commerce, peer-to-peer transactions need to be seamless, especially when it's cross-border, right? Our world is changing drastically, and up until now, cross-border payments have been a pain in the butt. But Bob seriously sees a need for this in the not too distant future just because of the way our world works. Central banks are looking for methods of seamless payments, and central bankers know the value in having a seamless payment going cross-border. And why Ripple has a leg up is that not only do they have great partnerships with the banks and some central banks around the world, is that they also have the ILP technology. Interoperability. So it's a two-prong effect. Okay, the interoperability will allow clients to transfer seamless payments across the globe, and central bankers just love this idea because up until now, they've had to deal with the SWIFT system, clunky, old, antiquated system that doesn't really work. And when payments get lost, you're getting on the phone with banks, trying to talk your way through it, maybe to a banker in a different country that might not speak your language perfectly. It's been a nightmare up until now, but with blockchain and interoperability, Ripple could successfully make this happen. So again, bankers see, or more importantly, central bankers see the value in an interoperable blockchain protocol. But part of the problem is that no banker wants to be the first to adopt the technology. That's the bad news. The good news, in Bob's words, is that once one of them does it, the rest will follow very, very quickly. And we've talked about this concept before, right? Nobody wants to be the first, but everybody wants to be the second. And Bob reiterated that in his interview with Alex yesterday. The technology is there, and the bankers are so anxious to use it. And once that first banker uses it, 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 will follow in very short order. This is what's called the domino effect, people. And so Bob talked a little bit about a story from about 4 years ago when bankers didn't want to touch cryptocurrency with a 10-foot pole. Again, likening Bitcoin to crime, underground activity, illicit firearms, drugs, the Silk Road, all that stuff. But since the bull run of 2017, as I mentioned in video 1, more people were interested. Bankers were seeing that others were getting rich with cryptocurrency, and they were also understanding that cryptocurrency had more of a utility than just for illegal purposes. So now it's the banks getting on the phone and calling up Ripple to ask if they can be part of this revolution. Whereas only a few short years ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, it was Ripple banging on the doors, forcing banks to understand what the revolution is going to be. And it seemed as though Bob thought it was amazing how that just shifted based on the catalyst of the 2017 bull run. So the piece of technology that's super important and will be the clincher in the future is the synchronization of accounts. And what Bob means by that is being able to do that cross-border transaction seamlessly. Basically what all of us have been talking about from day one. The fact that you will be able to get on your phone, send $1,500 to the UK, they receive it on their end, no questions asked, and it all happens within seconds. Right now, that seamless transaction isn't seamless. It takes forever and it costs a lot of money. Bob also mentions how bankers don't even know what the clients on the other end are going to get. All they know is You send $1,500 USD to London, and they don't know how many pounds they're going to get. They don't even know what the fees are going to be. On top of that, they don't know how long it's going to take. So think of how this technology will change the world. Guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I'm just explaining to you what Bob Way told us in yesterday's interview. Amazing stuff. And I really do get this renewed excitement every time I hear it. He said something interesting about Ripple's goals as well and how it's different than other companies. Essentially with Ripple, they don't approach their business as other companies do. Over time, Ripple wants to actually be less and less involved in what they do and more hands-off in a way as they grow. As Bob puts it, basically, he said, if Ripple is still doing this stuff 10 years down the road, basically the same stuff that they're doing today, they're doing it all wrong. They want to be involved less and less and have it be a self-sustaining system that is able to function on its own. And again, when talking about the price of XRP, guys, this is going to be baby steps, and this is what Bob says. Baby steps as adoption occurs. We've all been hitting this point home, right? The more adoption occurs, the more value we see in XRP. The more value we consider XRP having, think of the dollar, the $5 coupon, the $5 Texan dollar, the $5 American dollar, and now the $5 worth of XRP. How big is that going to be? And that's where the value will derive from XRP. Right now, Ripple is hitting those exotic corridors because that's where they're seeing value. That's where they're seeing a lot of the friction. Yes, they're smaller corridors, but baby steps. One step at a time, they'll keep getting exotic corridors, moving their way into medium-sized corridors, and then finally being able to take over those large payments and larger corridors as time goes on. People will begin to realize how functional and how efficient the technology is, and there will be a switchover sooner than you think. And just to put some of your minds at ease, I know you guys are looking for a spike and making money right away. And so that's not to say that that won't happen, because if you think about it, the market is the market, no matter how you slice it. And when you look at the entire cryptocurrency market as a whole, we're still going to have lots of speculation driving cryptocurrencies, right? And this is why I keep saying, guys, there's a spec market and the real world utility. And if you set the real world utility to the side for a second and just look at the speculative cryptocurrency market, you will see that XRP will spike just like the rest of those coins. And even if it spikes, and this is Bob's example, 30%, or not even spike, it just gains 30% year over year, which doesn't seem to be a lot in the cryptocurrency space, is still a lot in the real world in terms of an investment. And so investors are going to look at that and be like, yeah, I'll jump in for 30% a year. Soon enough, the thing's gone up 500% in 9 months because so many people are jumping in. And then what happens? A crash happens, just like we saw in 2017. The market can't sustain itself, and so some people get out, lots of people get out at the top, market comes tumbling down, we reset and we start all over again. Guys, I encourage you to take your profits off the table during those periods, because they are not sustainable. When you look at XRP for real world utility, however, it's probably good to keep a little stash set aside for several years down the road. And finally, the closest thing we could get from a price prediction from Bob Way was ultimately this. When asked about cashing out his XRP, or rather how much he holds or what he thinks the price is going to be, one of the things that I noticed when Bob Way was responding to those types of questions was that he is holding XRP long term for his children to live off of. And so that seems to me like this is a long-term plan for the future, to be patient with your XRP holdings, set a bag aside for the future. You can play in the meantime though, nobody's saying you can't. Anyways, that's the Bob Way interview. Thank you again to Alex Cobb and Bob Way for spending the time yesterday to give us all this great information. And so I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.